guys on your way afterward. So where's our candidates? Shiva? There's Dave. Where's George? Come on, guys.
We're all candidates.
Candidating. I'm Lori Carlin. I'm the founder of the Shingle Springs Community Alliance. The Alliance is a group that's hosting this tonight because I think more than half of Shingle Springs is in District 2, and if you didn't know, the other half is up in District 4. So we have our community is cut in half into 2 different districts. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. I'm really pleased to see so many people interested in what's going on in our county. This is really a big year with all these elections. We're going to have 3 new supervisors by the end of the year, and that's a big deal. I need to put my reading glasses on. I have no idea what this says. Carrie made an announcement that some people came in late. Restrooms through the door, through the courtyard on that other side of the building. First thing I need to do tonight is thank the Discovery Hills Church for having this beautiful facility for the community to use and rent. And I need to say that Discovery Hills Church is not associated in any way with the Shingle Springs Community Alliance or with this forum tonight. We're able to rent and use their facility, which we really appreciate. I have a couple pieces of information to share with you. Let's see. The core committee of the Shingle Springs Community Alliance sent a questionnaire to each of the District 2 candidates, 3 of which are here tonight. And they answered the questionnaire, and we posted the answers to that questionnaire on our website. The website is shinglespringscommunityalliance.com. We also have business cards back in the back on the tables if you want to pick up a business card with our website on it. If anybody doesn't have internet access, because there are some people that don't, we brought a few hard copies of the questionnaire answers. Oh, over there on the wall, there's actually, on the wall is the actual questionnaire itself blown up big so you can look at it. And if you don't have internet, we have a few copies on the ironing board below that for you. Let's see. We have a smaller number of participants this evening than we anticipated, so therefore we're going to get to go through quite a few more questions, which is kind of nice. And then afterward, I think we'll be able to wrap up a little bit early, and therefore we'll have some time to mingle with the candidates, which when I was campaigning, that was one of my favorite parts, is afterward mingling and talking to people. So I think that's a good opportunity for everyone that's here tonight. Each of the candidates was provided a space, so they do have some handouts. Let's see, Shiva's here, Dave's over there, and Dave's got stuff over here, so afterward, feel free to pick up stuff and talk to them. And, one last thing. When you came inside, hopefully you had the opportunity to write questions on the index card and submit them. If not, you can go really quick because I have a couple questions ready to go right away. And we handed each of you a little quarter-page sheet. It's a poll. And we'd like for you to fill out the poll after the forum and turn it in at the door on your way out this evening. I think we're ready to get started. Let's see. So the way we're going to do this tonight is each of the candidates will get 2 minutes to introduce themselves. And then for each question, they're going to get 2 minutes to answer. And then they will get 1 minute to make a closing statement. Our timers, right up front here, will hold up a green card. Show the green card. It's going to be right there. When you get to the 30-second mark, and then when we get to the end, there's going to be a red card, and if you keep talking, I'm going to come grab your microphone. So don't do that. And I think if I get too close to you, there's going to be reverb, so really don't do that. The first 4 questions are actually taken from that questionnaire. We thought some of them would be good for you to hear live here with an audience. And then the rest of the questions were taken either by email or submitted at the door, and they're in a bowl right now, and they'll be coming up here, and we'll draw from that when we get to that point. So, am I going to reverb here? Okay. So I'll just announce their names, and then they get their 2 minutes to go through and introduce themselves. So there's George Turnboo, Dave Pratt, and Shiva Frentzen. And our timer is ready. I really should thank you guys for coming. I know it's hard on a weeknight. Thursday nights work good for us, so we hope it worked well for you. And I guess we'll start with, we didn't draw numbers or anything. Do you guys want to do a Rochambeau, or should we just go for it? Oh, thanks. Go ahead, George. You get your 2 minutes.
2 minutes? come out here so everybody can hear me. Can you hear me? Yes. And see me? Yes. Okay, let me tell you a little bit about me. You know, I know a lot of people know, and I don't want to go in and talking about my history, but my history goes back a long time in this county, especially when our family arrived here in 1838. So I'm 8th generation in Dorado County. I care about this county. I love this county very much, and I'm sure you do too. You know, I've owned Georgia's Pit Stop in El Dorado, and I've been there for 42 years, a small business owner. When I started, I was 19 years old, and Stan Heel Sr. came to me and asked me to take his business over. I thought, wow, 19 years old, one of my own business? It was a privilege, especially when he said that I would be the best for it, because the person was dying of cancer. Very good friend. Anyway, let me tell you a little bit about our family and our roots here. We own the Frenchtown Cemetery, which I'm the president of it. My dad used to be the president, and it was my grandfather, and then my great-grandfather. I care about the rural lifestyle here. I love this county very, very much. You know, there's some issues that have happened about all the building developments and everything going, and there was some criticism, especially about the 123 petitions, and I support them very, very much. I care about it. The thing is you've got to have a balance, and we don't have a balance in this county. So all I'm saying is we need to bring businesses to this county to support the tax base. It's not about putting rooftops on. Okay, is that it? That all I got? 30 seconds. Oh, 30 more seconds? 15 seconds. 15 seconds. Well, that'd be enough. I could talk all night if you let me. Anyway, I just want to say one question I want to ask you. Why did you move to El Dorado County? It's because you love the rural atmosphere. So just remember that. And I can answer that for you because you do. Thank you.
I'm going to stay in place. My name is Dave Pratt, and I'm a winemaker, small business owner, and I'm currently the District 2 representative on the Planning Commission. A little spin through how I got to this point in time is a lot like you. I got involved kind of innocently. This wasn't part of the master plan, I don't think, when I looked at this 12 years ago. But I started working on an update on the winery ordinance, and I was representing the El Dorado Wine Grape Growers Association. And that took some time, writing an ordinance. It took us about 1.5 years or 2 years to get through that process. But by the time that was finished, the next thing that came up was all of a sudden, here's this general plan. And it started at the Planning Commission, and they had 4 different plans, and then you had to spend time going in and speaking to the items on each one of the general plans, and then you had to wait and see what was going to happen. What was the Planning Commission going to choose, which pathway they were going to take. So I spent my time sitting in those rooms, listening to people talk, listening to comments, just like you guys have been doing over the last 1.5 years or so. The decision was to move forward with a plan. It got to the Board of Supervisors, and voila, they chose a different plan. Again, does this sound familiar? So we started back over again. But by that time, I sort of aligned myself with some of the other people in agriculture. I was no longer just a single person working on a project with just a few minutes to get it done. We worked together, we came up, we commented on it. The general plan got completed, it was passed, it was voted. I was then brought on to the Ag Commission, voted by my peers, and then subsequent to that, or after that, I was appointed to the Planning Commission. So in 12 years, I've gone from being a commenter extraordinaire to sitting on the panel where you get to make those decisions. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Shiva Frentzen, and first I want to thank the SSCA for hosting this forum, and also thank all of you for being here on a Thursday evening. I would like to share a little bit about myself what I have done in the community, and if I have time, I would explain where I stand on the issues. I have lived in Cameron Park for the past 22 years, owned my own business for the past 15 years, information technology. I have a master's degree in computer science. Owning my own business, my business, I got involved with a lot of different organizations, chambers, and served as the president of the Shingle Springs Cameron Park Chamber of Commerce back in 2006. That continued on, and I was the first commissioner on the Economic Development Advisory Commission, and have been serving on the Cameron Park Community Services District as your elected official for the past 3.5 years. And I have the pleasure of serving on LAFCO, which looks at the county as a whole and makes decisions. I am also very passionate about the nonprofit organizations, so I serve as president of the Snowline Hospice, president of the Cameron Park Rotary Club, more, and many other organizations. Where I stand on the issues is we have a certain problem and for our residents in front of us. The developers are coming in, they're trying to build a lot of homes here. I am the leader of Measure M, which is going to stop developments like San Stino 1,000 homes and Marble Valley 4,000 homes. And I know that I'm going to get a chance to talk about this, where I stand on the TGPA and the rest of it. Thank you so much for having me here tonight.
We're going to move our camera really quick. And I'm going to try and remember, but you guys can help me remember the candidates. We're going to rotate who goes first. So like the first question, we'll start with Dave, and we'll just kind of keep rotating around. All right. Ready with the video?
Yeah.
Okay. First question. And again, these first four are off the questionnaire that we sent to the candidates, but we thought we'd give them a chance to actually answer it live. So question number 1. The county is currently updating the general plan and zoning ordinance. They are calling it LUPU, which stands for Land Use Policy Programmatic Update. Do you think the Board of Supervisors should continue with the LUPU process? Please explain your answer. Dave gets to start.
Okay, so first off is when you have a general plan, you are required by state law to update it every 5 years. We are in year 9 of trying to get the 5-year update done. So this has been going on for an extended period of time. I believe the first items were added to the list for that starting in 2008, at the end of 2008, and the board has commented on this and provided direction on this over the last like 33 meetings during this time frame. I do support moving forward with it. It doesn't mean that there's not more things to talk about and there's more things to look at. But we have to complete something, because actually, technically, next year we're supposed to start preparing for the next 5-year update. So it really doesn't help us comply with state law and exposes us a little bit legally if we can't get the first one done. How are we going to start working on the second one? So it needs to be a living, breathing document. There needs to be feedback and input, and you can't fix everything at the same time. Back when the general plan was put together, part of the problem was it was a little bit of a patchwork. Pieces were taken out of various of the 4 other general plans that I had referenced and put together into one. So it looked a little bit like a Picasso at times. And with economic issues going on, they've chosen a path that's been a little bit slow, but there's progress being made. So anyway, I definitely support it. It's just a matter of what we take out of it, and we don't have to move the whole thing forward in one unit.
Okay, I'm very passionate about this topic. There are 54,000 homes in Alada County already. The Board of Supervisors are trying to approve 33,000 more homes. That's going to add 60%. Where is the water going to come from? EID, if you have looked at the Service Reliability Report 2013 from EID, they only have 3,600 water meters available for Dorado Hills and Cameron Park and the east, going east where it's under EID. Traffic. I live in Cameron Park. When you leave home in the morning to go down the hill to work, because there are no jobs here, the traffic is at LOS F. Cameron Park 92% and Dorado Hills is 100% LOS F. To build the infrastructure to allow these developments to happen, it's going to cost $1.4 billion. It's going to be $475 million for water, EID infrastructure, and then the rest of it for the roads. Where is this all going to come from? It's going to come from the current residents. I have read the draft EIR. I have commented on draft EIR as part of a Rural Communities United group to bring some common sense to where we are going as a county. This is going to affect all of us, and I stand very firm for what's going on with the development. I oppose Marble Valley, which is 4,000 homes. I oppose San Estino, 1,000 homes. I oppose Dixon Ranch and Tilden Park and some other development that's going to change the land use and zoning to build more rooftops. Thank you.
You know, I'm very passionate on this, and the thing with Lupu, I'm totally against it. Because what has happened is, what they want to do is it's more proposed for high density and more houses being built in El Dorado County. You got to understand where we're going to get the water from. You know, take example the SOFAR project that was way back when, in the late 60s, early 70s, when it was killed by a couple supervisors. Basically, that would have supplied this county with a lot of water. We wouldn't have to worry about it today. When Sly Park Lake was built in the late 50s, early 60s, Wallace was a supervisor at that time. My dad was a county road foreman for District 2. They said they had enough water to supply the county for 200 years. Well, it's not happening because with all the stuff that's going on. We need to build more reservoirs here in this county. The problem is, I'm really sad, is because of the ratepayers of EID. EID has raised the rates here, so your people here are supporting these big developments here. That money is being collected basically for the infrastructure that's going to be put in on these big developments. I'm totally against it. It's wrong. It really is. You know, when people are sitting here with, you know, on retirement, making $1,300, $1,400 a month, and their water bill is over $200 every 2 months, that's crazy. It's absolutely ridiculous. Especially when we have Sacramento that just recently just got water meters. They didn't pay hardly anything at all, and it's our water is the way I feel. We need to plan for the future and stuff, and I'm totally against these big, large developments. We've got to have a balanced growth. We've got to bring businesses here to this county to be able to support the tax base here. It's not about putting rooftops in our county. Is that it? Not yet? Okay.
7 seconds.
I was asking. He's looking and I was just wondering. Anyway, I just care about the rural lifestyle here. You know, one of the things is it's not all about building these big developments. Take Elk Grove, for example. When they built all those homes down there, they don't have the business here to be able to supply it. Thank you.
He sees the 30 seconds.
Is this timekeeping thing working for you guys? Yeah? Shiva has the next start, I think. Yes. Okay. Number 2. On the November ballot, there are going to be 3 land use measures. Measure M, fix Highway 50 by the Rural Communities United Group. Measure N, control growth to fix local roads by region builders. And Measure O, fix community region lines by local voter control in El Dorado County. Do you support or oppose each of those 3 land use measures, and briefly explain your answer?
Thank you. Measure M. I am one of the signers on Measure M. The purpose of Measure M is to stop the highest density overdevelopment in all of the county. It's going to affect Cameron Park, a lot of hills with the rezoning of the golf course to build 1,000 homes, and San Stino and Shingle Springs, and all of the above in the county. We work diligently to make sure that the language is such that it protects us, but yet leaves us room for economic development and agriculture, so we can promote jobs and agriculture in our county. So I support that still. And Measure N, this was put on the ballot by builders, Sacramento builders, region builders, thank you. And it's, when you read that measure, it's all about putting money back in, benefiting developers basically, and saving them team fees so they can come here and build. So I do oppose that. Actually, the region builders themselves oppose that, and they don't support it anymore. So that's good news. So there's some common sense there. And Measure O, the community regions, I support that as well. I have signed the initiative when Lori was circulating it. So, and that is going to protect more rural areas of the county, Shingle Spring, Camino, Thallic Pines, and more rural. So I do support that one. Yes on M, yes on O, no on N. Thank you.
George, why don't you just move those chairs out of the way?
Okay, that's probably better.
She's trying to make it more efficient.
Thanks, Karen. Anyway, you know I support the 1, 2, 3 petitions. And you're talking about the one measure that's going to be on the ballot, and it's about regional lines. And the thing is, we don't need regional lines, because if we have regional lines, what's going to happen is Cameron Park and Shingle Springs are going to lose their identity. They need to be separate. What's going to happen is El Dorado Hills are going to be built up there and gobble up Cameron Park and Shingle Springs. And I'm totally against it. We don't need regional lines. That's the reason why I support that measure. Now the other measure, Measure Y, that didn't get on the ballot, I'm really sad to hear that, because you know it should be, it's you, the people. I don't think your voice is being heard. And I think the supervisors at that time needed to looked at that initiative before they made the decision, and they need to meet with the constituents to find out what the needs are before they made that decision, before even talking to them. I'm against it. The one measure that's about fixing Highway 50, the only thing, I'm kind of just right there on it. The only reason I'm kind of against it is because who is backing it? It's backed by a couple supervisors that we had in this county before that killed a lot of projects that we had here, that we wouldn't have to worry about water today. And it's really, really sad. So I feel that there's special interest groups involved in that measure. I'm not beholden to no one. The only one I'm beholden to is you, the people of El Dorado County. That's how I feel. Thank you.
Okay, I actually have no position on all three of the initiatives. The reason is that the initiative process is a First Amendment right, and I staunchly support your right to create the petitions, to do the initiatives, to get to the measure process. You should be applauded for your efforts. I understand how much work is involved with this process, but on the flip side of it, when it comes to having your elected supervisor, it is a representative government. That actually, the representative government is protected by the Constitution. Your right to vote, however, is not. So my line of thinking is that when we get all done with this process and the people have spoken and have weighed in on this particular subject from all over the county, someone's going to win and someone's going to lose. But who's going to be sitting there to represent the interest of everyone if you're on the losing side or if you're on the winning side? Because these initiatives are not going to go in cut and dry. There's going to be work on them. There has to be general plan work that has to be done. This is El Dorado County. Litigation is going to happen. It's a way of life here. So there's lots of things that are going to transpire here in this process. And I think that the only way that you're going to bring everyone together at the table to make sure that winners and losers are both talking to each other as we're implementing whatever the people decide is by having an unbiased, representative type person sitting at the table facilitating those discussions. Thank you.
Before I read question number 3, my understanding is some of you have taken the blank index cards to your seats and you're writing your questions. And so instead of having people getting up all the time, if you have your question ready, just hold it up and James promised he will be watching and he'll come snag it for you and we'll put it in the bowl, okay? So just kind of hold it up if you have one in your seat there. All right, number 3. This has a little definition in it for you because we didn't know if everybody would understand the question. So, a discretionary project is one where the project proposes to change the current land use to build the project. Tilden Park is an example of a discretionary project because the land use would have to change from residential to commercial. Here's the question. Do you think there should be a moratorium on discretionary land use projects until we have adequate water and an accurate supply and demand management plan in place? And who's going first? George.
The thing is, you know, I'm against the Tilden Park for one thing. And I don't think there should be any changes brought forward by changing, because that happens all the time. The Board of Supervisors have did backroom deals that has happened in the past and stuff, where they go in, big developers go in, and then they change the land use of it, and they make it from residential to commercial or vice versa to benefit them. And it's totally wrong. Totally wrong. In fact, there was somebody, a big developer, that was at a board meeting and got up and spoke, hey, I'm calling my card. We had a backroom deal, now I'm calling on my card. You guys got to honor it. It's wrong. Totally wrong. The problem we have and stuff like that, when you're talking about buffer zones, for example, for agricultural and stuff too, you know, I want to make sure that we retain those buffer zones, especially 10-acre buffer zones, because what happens is, what they've done with this new general plan, or trying to update the plan, is they've taken your agriculture away from you and zone your property rural. The reason why? That way they can go right up against your fence. People don't know that, but it's true. So I want to make sure that retain them buffer zones that are adequate, because when people, you know, when their property is designated agricultural, let's say if you wanted to put a winery, or you wanted to grow grapes, or you wanted to do apples or pears or whatever, you have the right to do that. But when your ag is taken away from you, that's taking money out of your pocket, is the way I feel. So I want to make sure that your zoning doesn't change. I think it's not right. And people need to understand it, because my cousin Howard, you know, his ranch, cattle ranch that he has. The problem is, if these buffer zones don't go away, these people are going to be building right up against his fence. Then he's going to have a problem with people complaining about the smell of the cows and all the other stuff that goes on. Then you get the EPA involved. So I want to make sure that those buffer zones stay in place. Thank you.
Read the question again
with
all the answer.
I was just going to say,
we were talking about buffer zones, but I got lost. I was trying to
anytime you guys need to reread a question, please let me know. You know what a discretionary project is now, so just a question. Do you think there should be a moratorium on more discretionary projects until we have an adequate water, let me rephrase it, until we have adequate water and an accurate supply and demand management plan in place?
Okay, sorry, I misunderstood.
That's why I wanted to ask.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure.
That's all right, sorry about that.
I'm not in favor of a moratorium. You know, one of the interesting things about District 2 in El Dorado County is that it's extraordinarily diverse. So what happens in Shingle Springs does not have the same impact as it does in El Dorado Hills as it does out in my neighborhood in Fairplay. So it's very difficult to put a hold on the whole thing in the county because we need things in the South County. We want development to occur for projects, and if someone's interested in converting a piece over to commercial inside of a rural center and put in a restaurant, then I think we should be encouraging them to do that out there. So I'm kind of not in favor of doing that county-wide. One of the things that I am advocating is that we put together a strategic plan. We have this general plan, but we have to meet a lot of state requirements and regional requirements as part of how things have been assigned to us. We need to have a plan to figure out where do those things go before we have a project in front of us. We have to meet moderate housing. We have to meet a certain amount of multifamily housing or lower income housing. But until we start talking about where those things go, how they fit into what's been allocated for, and what the housing element says, we're just taking opportunities as they come. And I think therein lies part of the problem. Every opportunity is not an opportunity, is not a good opportunity to be exploited at that time. Rather, we need to have a master plan, something very strategic about where things go, and be able to start working on it from there. And that includes the water side of the house, too. Thank you.
Definitely. We need to have the infrastructure for water, our roads, and everything else to support more housing here. I'll go back to Measure M. The second policy of Measure M reads, the Board of Supervisors cannot change any land use or zoning changes for parcel, for development for 5 homes or more, unless it's for economic development and agriculture. District 2 is diverse. Yes, we know suburb of Cameron Park, and then we have the South County. The reason we have put economic development and agriculture there is because of that diversity. It is going to protect us for the next 20 years because it takes that long to bring jobs and economic development to our county. It takes that long to build the infrastructure, have enough water. Well, a lot of the water infrastructure, yeah. Infrastructure, yes, but a lot of it also depends on the weather and the roads as well. For the next 20 years, Caltrans has no plans to widen Highway 50. And we're collecting all these TIM fees. We're not spending it on our local roads to improve it. And the traffic is bad. We're building more homes. 70% of our workforce goes down the hill to work. Our ratio of the seniors are going up here, so we have serious issues with the model that we have right now. It hasn't worked. Why do we continue? Let's try something different. And for the past couple of years, I have worked diligently and tirelessly to protect our residents and our county with the resources that we have. Thank you.
Okay, this is number 4. This will be the last one that's from the questionnaire. 3 of the current proposed discretionary projects are in Shingle Springs. They're Sandstino, the Tilden Park Hotel project, and Lime Rock Valley. Do you support or oppose each project and why?
Okay, so with Sandstino, the project was too big. It was, when you have 1,000 homes, when you're talking about 1,000 homes in one fell swoop, there needs to be a lot of infrastructure in place to be able to handle that. And so thus it didn't have a chance from the time that it went in front of the board. Now, the interesting thing is that there was a process there. The process was a conceptual design review, conceptual review of a project. So it didn't come in as a project. It just said, here's what do you want to do? What's your idea? And we'll give you some feedback. And oh, by the way, so will the public. Hey, the process worked. And that one, it got beat down because it wasn't ready for prime time. And I don't see how it's going to come back in any time in the near future. Tilden Park went the other way. It actually came forward to us on the Planning Commission as a project. And it was sent back. It was sent packing by the Planning Commission. But I think it was because of the Tilden Park process and having it come in front of the Planning Commission and all the public comment that went with it was why the board got on their horse and came up with this conceptual design review so that they, the electeds, could take responsibility for these decisions as opposed to putting it on the Planning Commission and basically largely volunteer type folks sorting through the madness. In regards to, see, we're talking about Marble Valley?
Lime Rock Valley.
Or Lime Rock Valley. You know, I don't know what's going on there. They did a lot of outreach and floated some things out amongst the public. They probably had a couple thousand people between the communities and individuals that they brought in and talked about it, but that's all been quiet. That hasn't come in front of anybody for a design review, that hasn't come in front of the Planning Commission, so I have no idea what's going on there, but we'll have to kind of wait and see. Thanks.
Thank you. I'm going to make it quick this time. Since 1,000 homes, we don't have the infrastructure for traffic and water, and I don't support it. Tilden Park. It is a hotel, it's economic development project, but it's rezoning of a residential parcel to build commercial. It's so close to an existing residential that I do not support. We had another case like this in Cameron Park a few years back that I opposed basically because it was a rezoning of a residential to bring commercial and it was too close to existing residential. Marble Valley, can I combine them? Lime Rock. Marble Valley, 3,200 homes. Lime Rock, 800 homes. When they talk about it, they talk about it as a complete project together. That's adding 4,000 homes adjacent to Cameron Park. The traffic is already at LOSF 92% in Cameron Park. Adding 10,000 more cars every day to that traffic, it's just it's gonna make this be like close to the Bay Area. Do we want that? No. Water, 3,600 water meters in end user water meters from EID. Do we have enough water for that? No. They have to build the infrastructure, $475 million. Who's going to pay for it? Yes, they're going to build it with the developer's money, but we are all going to pay into it to maintain it. So I'm opposed to that project as well. And I'm going to connect it back to Measure M before I sit down. Yes, on Measure M. Thank you.
I don't support the Santino project that they want to put in. We don't need more homes, especially there when we don't have the infrastructure it is, because French Creek Road and Frenchtown Road, it is not even adequate for all the traffic it's going to contain there. Plus, we do not have the water here in this county. And like I talked about earlier, especially with all these different projects and stuff like that, EID is already planned for the future. That's one of the reasons why your water rates are high, because they're already planning to taking your money for the infrastructure in the future here of all these big developments. A lot of people don't know that. I'm totally against the Tilden Park issue, because Ponderosa Road, I mean, to get to the Ponderosa High School right now, it's ridiculous. It's totally ridiculous. Traffic's backed up. You got to wait in line forever, it seems like, to even get to the school. I feel sorry for the kids that have to go to school, because half the time they're late, because they have to stay in the line. So I'm totally against that, because all that's going to do is put more traffic on. The Marble Valley facilities they want to build in and stuff, I'm totally against that too. We have Highway 50 right now. It's not even adequate right now to be able to take all that traffic, especially when people have to commute to Sacramento. It's already slows everybody down. It's a creeping call, especially when you get down there now. We don't need that. We don't have Highway 50, the infrastructure in place to even for all these big developments. So I'm totally against it. I know she was saying about Measure M, or what, I guess that's a measure, right? But you got to understand who's behind it. You need to look at it before you vote on that too. All right, thank you.
Okay, that was the last question off the questionnaire. So now we're going to go to the poll. And howdy. know, isn't this exciting? Very. Now I hope I can read these. I hadn't thought about that. Okay, I'll just read it the way it is. Okay. You're first. Here we go. Do you feel the Auditor Controller's office should be divided so that the fox isn't guarding the hen house?
Okay, so I am going to answer this. I guess what they're trying to figure out is whether the position should be an elected official and whether, or it should be under the CAO. That's the way I understand it. So this is a very interesting topic. You're talking about the charter changes, and there are certain positions at the county that requires a lot of experience, and they're basically hands-on. And when you think about the auditor controller and some of the other positions, it's best if they don't report to a CAO or to a board, and they are being accountable to people who vote for them. So that's my position on that, and I hope that answered the question. Whoever had the question? Yes? No?
We'll see.
Okay. And there are some other positions that, they're also talking about the Board of Supervisors and their term limits. I'm going to go into that even though that wasn't the question. I believe in term limits. It's hard when somebody gets on the board to really get them out of there. They feel comfortable, they feel entitled, and we need new blood on the Board of Supervisors. So I am all for term limits. Thank you.
I have the question in case you need me to reread it.
Yeah, go ahead and read it.
You want to hear it again? Do you feel the Auditor Controller's office should be divided so that the fox isn't guarding the hen house?
Well, that's a good question. Very, very good question. But one of the things I supported last time when I ran is a budget oversight committee. And basically this budget oversight committee would oversee a lot of the stuff that's going on in the CO office and our auditor controller, because there's a lot of wasteful spending there. And I feel that this budget oversight committee would be made up of good business people with good accounting knowledge that could look into a lot of the situations that are going to save this county a lot of money. Because I think there's a lot of money being spent wastefully there. Especially when you have a certain person that, I'm not going to say anything, but whatever. I ain't going to go there. Sorry. But you know, there's a lot of stuff going on. I've heard so many things that people that work for the county and stuff, and they brought some issues to actually the grand jury, and they've lost their jobs, which is really kind of sad, the stuff that's happened. You're talking about some of the stuff that's gone on when some of these jobs and stuff like that, 3 or 4 screws in it to put a screen door in, it's over $1,000. Things like that. It's ridiculous. It's crazy. That's why I support a budget oversight committee. They can look at all these different areas to save the wasteful spending that we have in this county. Thank you.
So I think the question is, in regards to this one, is if there's distrust of having them together, why did he get reelected? You know, the people, this is an elected position. And I think when the Charter Review Committee is going down this path and evaluating it, I think it's a fair discussion to have. You know, there's some positions that are mandated by state law to be elected. The rest of them are a decision based upon the charter. And it's an interesting trade-off here. When people say, well, look, if we appoint someone to this position, you know, they're just going to be entrenched and be there forever. Isn't that kind of what we got right now? I mean, when you take a look at whether it's the auditor-controller position or the tax collector position, I think we have people that are in place that have been there for a long time. So I'm not sure what the answer is. I know people like to vote for, have their choice, and I agree with that personally. I would rather have a choice. But I think it comes back down to the voters themselves. If there's distrust, then it's time for someone else to go into the position. But you also have to create competition for these positions. Having an election is one piece. Having a competitive election is another piece. Well, where are those competition type people going to come from? Inside of the existing organization. So now we create, by having competition, an underling, a subordinate, telling their boss, hey, I think I can do your job better than you're doing it. Well, that's another interesting conversation, right? So how are you going to bring competition into an election process? I think what it really comes down to when the day is done is that we, the people, have to make educated decisions, and we have to make the votes are necessary that reflect our personal opinions. And that means getting out and voting and doing the right thing on that front. Thank you.
That was a good question. Okay, Gail's got this one. Don't pick your own. Yeah, you can't pick your own. You have to throw it back in if it's your own. Uh-oh, I can't read it. I can't read this one, you guys.
Pick another.
And I have to pick another one. And I'll have somebody try and interpret it for me in the meantime. Where's Frank? No, not the timekeeper. Where's Frank?
Fine.
Okay, we'll do this one. Who's starting the question? George. First this time? What about Buxton software and how will it be used? So this is assuming everybody knows about Buxton.
Okay. The thing with the Buxton device was purchased by the county back when Sam Driggers was in economic development. The problem is it's still sitting on the shelf until just recently. And the thing is it evaluates all your businesses and stuff and what's products being spent and different products, different evaluations, how much money has been spent there. This Buxton device is actually good for new businesses to be able to come to our county because they can look at all the different, what people spend here in our county. You know, Sam Driggers was a great person. I really liked him. He was a very, very good friend, and it's really sad that they got rid of him. I don't know too much about who's the head of economic development now. I have no idea. But I'm glad that he's took the initiative to bring that back, especially when it was, it was $100,000 was sitting on the shelf for quite a few years. So I think it's a great device. I think that this county needs to use it, especially evaluate all the businesses. I would like to see a website, especially on the county website, of all the businesses in this county. So people can go to the website and see who's here and what they're about. So I really support that. I think it's a great idea, and that's one of the reasons why Sam purchased that. And you got to understand, his salary was based on grant money. That's what his salary was. The grant money they brought, that's what paid his salary. So anyway, I think it's very special that we get this involved, especially to support all our small businesses here. One thing good about Sam is he went to every business. And I hope this person that's ahead of economic development now goes to every small business and tells them what he can bring to them to help support and increase their business revenue. Thank you.
Okay, the Buxton report is really a financial or a business analysis. What's going on where? And it did sit around for a little while, but it needs to be part of that strategic plan that I was referring to earlier. The manager in charge of economic development right now, his name is Jim Claybaugh, and I've met with him. We spent a good hour and a half plus talking about things. We talked a little bit about the Buxton report as well. And there's interesting pieces in there and how it relates to job creation in El Dorado County. One of the items that jumped off the page at me was that almost 90% of the appliances that people purchase for their homes come from outside the county. Those are big ticket items, you know, refrigerators, stoves. I mean, they're not a $100 item unless you're buying at the secondhand store. But when we start talking about job creation, why are we going through the Sears catalog store? Or why isn't somebody willing to take the risk to open up a business to have to sell appliances when you have a county that doesn't buy appliances in its own backyard? These are great opportunities to use to recruit businesses, to recruit people to invest in businesses, and to start the job creation process. We talk about sales tax revenue lost by the $800 million that's spent annually outside of the county. There's another piece of that too. And if that money is spent inside the county, that helps the little businesses go from survive to thrive, and it also creates jobs. So this goes back to creating sustainable communities and using the tools that are available to us and a resource like Jim Claybaugh to be able to start putting together a sustainable plan for our communities instead of always commuting down to Sacramento. Thank you.
Quick, Buxton Software. 5-6 years ago, I was part of that process through about County Chamber of Commerce. And because of my software engineer background, I understand software and what the purpose of it is. We spent a couple $100,000 on that software. And what it does, it pretty much came from the credit card companies that track where you spend your money, and they can tell what's your shopping habits. Thank you. Thanks for completing my sentence. And then from there, you can bring commercial here. So it's mostly for anchor commercial to our county. Let's see what is our problem right now. Our problem is our workforce goes down the hill to work. Where do they shop? Do they come back here and say, wow, we have a, Placerville used to have a lower sales tax, but that's not there anymore. Let's go buy our huge refrigerator from here. No, they're down there, they look at the stuff, they buy it there. I know that. They eat their lunches there, they eat dinner there, they do all their shopping there before they come up the hill. That's where we're hurting. High-paying jobs, 70% plus of our workforce goes down the hill to work. The interesting thing about Buxton is it's not the right timing for it. We have to address the high-paying jobs, we have to work on our business parks that we have, bring the jobs up here, and then once we keep our workforce here that go and spend their sales tax dollars here, yes, let's see what is their habit of spending and bringing some commercial here so they can purchase. Thank you.
I found the question. Okay, so it was emailed in and I didn't understand that on the card. So, it's the question, oh, this is long, it's got a definition in the front, so if you need me to reread it at any time, say so. All right, here's the preface. AT&T has plagued South El Dorado County, it says Pleasant Valley Road, Somerset, Pleasant Valley, etc., for years without providing service to receive direct connection for the internet. We are stuck with extremely slow and frustrating dial-up service. It has been my understanding that AT&T has been mandated by the federal government to provide this service to all. Over the years, I have posed this question of the previous District 2 Supervisor on several occasions. At no time have I ever received a satisfactory answer as to AT&T's plan or date of resolvement. So here's the question. Are you aware of the problem? Actually, there's 3 questions. Are you aware of the problem? What is the county's position on this subject? When do you see this problem being resolved?
Okay, so the answer is yes, I'm aware of it. I live in the South County. I drive on Mount Alcom Road. I don't have signal there. I live in a house that our only internet access is through the satellite because there is no other way to get internet access down there. Here's how this works. It's more of your government in action stuff that's uncovering our ability to have the services that we're looking for. When AT&T acquired Singular, they had to divest themselves of cell towers, because actually you could have cell coverage all the way from Gray's Market to the Somerset store. There was a time that you actually could have that. But when they had to divest of cell towers, they went out to the country and started picking spots here and there. So it turns into pockets. Now, so this is the FCC making this determination because of fair trade. Verizon, on the other side of the coin, has been making an aggressive push in order to get into different parts of the county, particularly out on the divide. Well, as Verizon expands their footprint, that takes the heat off of AT&T regulatory-wise so that they can start doing some things. And it is my understanding that there's additional cell towers in the works. They have upgraded Monacum, the tower on Monacum, Pleasant Valley, which is a cell phone hole. It's a huge dead spot. Has a cell tower that's been approved. It came to the Planning Commission. And AT&T is going to be on that one as well. So it's happening, but the government says it has to be competitive, and that's why it's tough to get the answer, because the government is controlling our services instead of letting it be free. Thank you.
Okay, I promise not to get too technical on this one. As I said, I own my business in our service provider, and we still have dial-up customers in this county, and some of you may be our customers. So when we talk about AT&T, sorry, when we talk about AT&T, the real problem that we have is the fiber is not laid in our county. And it costs them a lot of money to bring it to the rural areas. That's why we have some companies like CalNet that provides the wireless. Wireless does not work because of the topology of our county. There are a lot of trees blocking it. It's going to become sporadic, and it doesn't work for our county. So AT&T, if you know someone up high, because they brought it to the, I believe they brought it to the Camino, or one of the areas that were more that was more rural, because somebody knew someone and they just laid the fiber and they got high speed overnight. If you don't know someone, then you're like the rest of the county. The problem with the fiber, the reason AT&T doesn't do it is because they don't have the numbers. So there were a couple different efforts and different groups to even going as far as having a bond to lay that fiber and then sell it to the ISP so the ISPs can go get the customers. That model didn't work either. So as a county, we got to come together, we got to look at all the resources that we have and look at what has been done in the past and what is the solution for us. Maybe there is a deal that we can strike with AT&T, but definitely, and once you have high speed in our area, in South County, it's going to help with telecommuting, and it's going to help with traffic as well, and it's going to keep our workforce here. So I'm totally for that project. I'm aware of it being an issue, and my time is up. Thank you.
You know, this was brought up last time when I ran before about the fiber optic, especially with a lot of the situation with AT&T. You got to understand, there's a lot of fire departments in the rural area. They need that, especially when it comes to safety, especially to get adequate reception, especially when all these calls come in, especially when being able to communicate on the computer to pull up a lot of this stuff. So I'm very for this, and we need to get this done, because there's a lot of fire departments without it, especially when it comes to the safety of the people that live in these different areas. You're talking about Pioneer Fire District. You're talking about Georgetown. You're talking about all the other rural areas out there that don't have this. And that was one of the big concerns, was about the safety for the people. So as a supervisor, I want to make sure that we push that and get that done. Thank you.
already 7 o'clock. I think we're doing well. We said the forum was going to go from 6 to 8. So I'm thinking of doing questions till probably 7:30ish, and then breaking it so we can mingle and talk to the candidates. Does that sound like a good plan to everyone? But you're getting tired of sitting in your seats. I have I think it's 2011 El Dorado Rose sitting here. Marianne, pick a question. That's our claim to fame in Shingle Springs. Who gets to go first? You ready? Oh boy. How will you address the illegal fire tax fee that is being charged annually to rural homeowners by CAL FIRE and State Franchise Tax Board?
Thank you for that question, because I have served on the Cameron Park CSD board for the past 3.5 years. Fire is one of the services that we provide. And I'm very familiar with this topic, and I'm going to explain it a little bit. Majority of Cameron Park, per se, is the local service responsibility, which means we don't pay the $150 tax, fire tax, that majority of our county pays. The service responsibility areas are the areas that the CAL FIRE is in charge of, and that's where they charge the $150. When this topic came up on our board, as a board, we wrote a letter and opposed it, and I voted, I opposed it as well, because usually I don't go with the majority of the board, so I want to clarify that. And I am against it. So I know it's a pain. You have to write something to not pay it, and then how are you going to get your money after you pay it? So it is wrong. Thank you.
You know, the thing is, just because you live in a rural area, you shouldn't be penalized for it. And that's the way I feel this fee is. And it's totally wrong, and I'm totally against it. It's really sad is what's happened right now, that we have this fiscal year is a $5 billion budget for fire safety. Less than 20 years ago, it was only about 15%. The problem is the environmentalists have cut down where they won't let you go in and remove a lot of the dead debris out of our forests and stuff like that today. And it's really sad. Just like Echo Park, Echo Lake, that just happened recently, the Forest Service up there cleaning it, one person filed the lawsuit and it stopped it. So now they can't remove the dead debris because of the yellow-legged frog. This is the stuff that goes on. It's really, really sad. It really is. And this is one of the things that I wanted to do when I talked about our national forest, is basically to open our national forest so we can have industry, tourism, and recreation. And as a supervisor, you can claim a state of emergency to go into the national forest to remove the dead debris out of there so we don't have these horrific fires. Why should we be penalized at $135 or $125 every time just because you live in a rural area? It's wrong. What we need to do is attack the issues first, so that fee doesn't come back. And the way to do it is to get into our national forest, clean it up so we don't have these horrific fires, so we don't have $5 billion in a budget for fire to fight these fires every year, especially when 20 years ago it was only 15%. The problem is all the growth now, all the dead debris. It's got to come out. And I talked about a cogen plant that we could build in El Dorado to produce electricity to help support our county. So anyway, as a supervisor, I want to make sure that happens. Thank you.
Yes.
All right, the county has joined the group lawsuit against CAL FIRE, or against this taxation, along with Howard Jarvis and some other folks. So the government is stepping up to push back on this particular issue. Unfortunately, it's going to have to go to court in order to get it settled, the fee versus the tax piece. The interesting thing is that supposedly the money is for outreach, and I'm not sure what that means. in my line of thinking, I'd rather, if I was going to pay that amount of money, I think I'd rather have them come spend 4 hours of quality work at my property and help me clean it up, and we'll get it done every year, right? So, you know, it's true. Unfortunately, it's true. It's sad. But you know, the other way that the money is starting to trickle back out from this program is through grants for fire safe councils. Now, I realize that's a dangerous subject to talk about, but fire safe councils are very, very important. The fire safe council on the Sand Ridge Road, the lower part in Nashville, they saved a whole bunch of people's bacon in the South County for all the work that they did, and they've been in place for 10 years. Grizzly Flats has got a fire safe council that just celebrated their 10th year, and they're working on building their lines and their safety zones and educating their community members about where to go. I'm president of the Pleasant Valley Grange Fire Safe Council. So I think there's two ways to look at it. One, you keep fighting it. Second is, how do you take the money back and put it to work in your community? If you're already paying $135 by the time you get your discount in there, you're paying $135,000 a year. Well, let's get $135 worth of grant money back here and start working on the fire protection pieces that we know we need to have in order to protect everyone in the county, because we're all in this stuff together. Thank you.
Grab one. Who's first? George? Just one. Okay, let me see if I can understand this. Based on your knowledge and opinion at this time, please briefly comment on the issue of, and it has in quotation marks, no growth equals community deterioration. So I guess, do you think no growth equals community deterioration or not?
So what you're saying is, if I get this question correctly, is you're talking about regional lines. The thing is, you got to understand, I'm against these big high developments going in, but each community should have their own identity. Cameron Park, Shingle Springs, they should have their own, and that's one of the reasons why I was against these regional lines, because if those regional lines exist, then everything in Cameron Park is going to, I mean, El Dorado Hill is going to build up this way, and it's going to take away from that. So I think that, I don't think just because there's no growth is going to take away the characteristics of those communities at all. Those communities are established right now. Shingle Springs has their identity, so does Cameron Park. So I feel that we need to do away with these regional lines. That's the reason why that one particular petition, and I encourage you to vote yes for it on that. So anyway, I really don't want anywhere go any farther, but anyway, I just care about the rural atmosphere that we have here, and I'm not for the growth of these big high developments and stuff like that that damage these communities, especially Cameron Park and Shingle Springs.
So please read that one again.
Well, I'm just wondering, did somebody say that somewhere? Is that a quote, you guys? It's in quotes. It says no growth equals community deterioration. So just comment on that.
Okay.
Do you agree that no growth equals community deterioration?
Well,
yes.
I think if you're not growing, you're dying, but there's different ways of growing other than the obvious. I mean, transformation is a change. Transformation is a growth. But we have to figure out how this all comes together. I do agree that community identity is an important piece here. And at a particular time when we have low growth, when you look at the number of building permits being pulled over the last 5 years, this is a great opportunity to start working on what we need to do collectively in our own individual communities to figure out what we want to look like and what do we want to be, not necessarily when we grow up, but what do we want to be. So if we want jobs, we want commerce, what is it going to take to do that? I suspect that there's going to be some growth in there. I suspect that they're going to have some change in habits of Can we add, can we have a little additional retail here? Or can we have a little production facility over there? Or do we have a place to even do those things? So I think you can transform, but we do have to continue to grow. The general plan is at 1%, just a hair over 1%. So it's not really built to the, it's not built for high growth. That's really low growth. But we need to, it's the commerce side of the house that we have to focus on first. It's the business side, it's the employment side that we have to take care of. And I think that's the transformation part that we need to start working on. And it's not just recruiting businesses, it's how do we grow business organically inside of our communities. Thank you.
So the way I'm going to answer this question is I'm going to define the word growth. When you talk about growth, are you talking about rooftops and residential development, or are you talking about the economic development part of it? So residential development, let's look at some of these projects that are going on, that are being proposed. You get 4,000 homes, Marble Valley, Lime Rock, and they come to the Board of Supervisors, they have their staff look at all those projects, they give them some incentives, they kind of say, okay, the traffic is okay, water is okay, we're going to build here, current residents are going to pay for that. So by this time, you have put your resources at the county to bring growth in the residential development. So let's look at growth in the economic development area. You have businesses who are interested to come to our county. You look at them and say, okay, our permit fees are really high. There are some team fees that we are charging. There are some other fees that we're charging for this specific business. Let's lower those so we can bring this business here so we can have more high-paying jobs. You have given the same amount of resources to each one of these, but one is building the infrastructure for your growth and economic development for the future. The other one is going to take it away. Residential development long-term is a responsibility and liability for the county. So when we talk about growth, I am all for economic development and jobs growth. When it comes to housing, whoever is entitled to build 4,000 homes in Marble Valley, they're more than welcome to come and build here. Not 4,400, what they're entitled to. Thank you.
Okay, I think we're going to do a couple more and then we'll start mingling. It's my favorite part. Oh, I'm not supposed to pick the question. I was going to pick the one. All right. Okay, who's going first on this one? Dave? All right. I wrote this one so I can read the writing. It wasn't my question, it was off an email. What is your specific plan to reduce building fees and change the county's reputation of high fees and strict environment?
Yeah, it takes, to build a house in El Dorado County, it's about $100,000 worth of fees, which explains why we don't have any houses sitting in the $250,000 to $300,000 price point. So we have to start taking a look at different pieces. I think right now, considering that we have a couple things going on, we have a shrinking school population and an aging population base, I'm not sure how much we need to be pulling from the school districts, or the school districts need to be pulling out of this process. I think that's one piece. I think the second part of it is we have to take a look at TIN fees, but this is kind of tricky too, because TIN fees have only been in place for 25 years or so. And when they first started, they were in El Dorado Hills, and it was $600 a home. Okay? In El Dorado Hills, it's up over $30,000. Out even in Fairplay, we're looking in the low mid-20s, and we're out in the boonies. So if we lower TIN fees, then we're not funding our bank account to fix our endemic problems. And are we making progress in that particular direction? Are we going to solve some of our problems that are already in place? New development is not allowed to fix our old problems. They're supposed to compensate for their own. So we have to have a lot of thoughtful conversation and stop treating some of the departments inside of the county as revenue centers, But we're going to have to bring this all together and start working at it across the board and using a template of, hey, what if I put a single home here? What if I put 10 homes here together in a small subdivision? What if I put 100 homes here? And where does that fit inside the county, and what are the impacts that are affiliated with it? We have the tool sets now that we didn't have 5 years ago, but this is part of that strategic plan that needs to get worked on, and the sooner the better. Thank you.
So I believe the question is specifically permit fees, because our fees in general are very high. You talk about TIM fees. Measure M is going to bring TIM fees down. That's way too high for a county our size. And you talk about other fees such as water and sewer connection. That's about $40,000 to build a new home. When you talk about permit fees in general, I own my business, and being in the private sector, I don't have the tax dollars to experiment. So everything needs to be able to run efficiently. We need to look at, when we give the permit to whoever comes there, what factors are involved, which departments are involved. Look at that whole system and say, how can we make this more efficient? We have the technology right now that we can make it more efficient, and there are many, many ways that we can reduce the cost on our end, so we can pass it down to people who come to build in our county. So without getting too much into the details, that's the way you do it. And that's true with every other department in our county. You need to look at the budget. One thing that serving on the Cameron Park CSD board have given me is I can read the financials of the government and be able to analyze it and say, this department is having issues. Why is it not running efficiently? Why is the expenditure going up, revenue going down? And that's the way you need to look at every department at the county level as well, to make it more efficient, to make it more affordable for people to come here. Thank you.
Our TIM fees are very, very high, especially when it's like she was talking about, $90,000 to $100,000 to even build a home is absolutely ridiculous in this county. That's why there's so many vacant lots. Let's take an example for Crystal Boulevard. There's like 160 lots that have not been built on yet because people can't afford. They can't afford to build, especially when they were looking to retire up here. It's ridiculous. You need to base the TIM fees on the surrounding counties. Placer County and Amador County, for example, is only around $20,000 to $25,000. Why are we paying so much? It's wrong. We need to lower the TIM fees based on the other surrounding counties, so also we can entice businesses to come to our county too. Look at the business parks. They're empty. There's not, I mean, they need to be filled. They really do. So the lower the TIM fees that we have now, it'll entice businesses to come to our county to support the tax base that we need here. And I'm very much in supportive of doing this. I really am. You know, it's just crazy. Here's another thing I'd like to see done too, is form an escrow account. Basically, if you're building a house, that money goes into this account. The county cannot touch it until the project is done. It speeds up the process and it gets the project finished. The problem is it sits there 4 or 5 years. You go through all these different processes and stuff like that, and then you have an endangered species on your property, and then you do not get your money back. This happens a lot. I've heard people that they spend all this money and then they don't get it back. Well, that way, if it stays there and you get to that point, that way you get your money back. Because I'll tell you about a company that spent $1.4 million on a stoplight. Anyway, what happened was he wasn't required to put it in. All right? He had to sue the county to get his money back. He only got $300,000. Isn't that ridiculous? So this is something that's very, very critical in our county. So we've got to make sure that we base our TIM fees on the other surrounding counties so this county can survive. Thank you.
Okay, this might be the last one. We'll see. I forgot to say at the beginning, you guys don't have to use your whole 2 minutes. I forgot to mention that, but I've been in your shoes. You usually do. Let's see. Oh. Wow, okay. Here we go. It's a two-parter. What is the link between El Dorado's high crime rate and unemployment? What are your specific plans to entice businesses to El Dorado County?
The reason we have high unemployment is because there are many reasons. But first of all, first we need to educate our population. And then when you educate them and they can't come back to the county because we don't have the jobs that they can raise a family, you lose that workforce to somewhere else. So we're not being able to bring our future generation back to our county because of lack of jobs in our county, high-paying jobs. So when we talk about high employment rates, unemployment rates is because we don't have jobs in our county, and we have a high percentage of seniors now because we haven't been able to bring the right jobs in our county. What was the second part? Sorry.
What are your specific plans to entice businesses, or the link?
To bring businesses here, you need to make your fees more affordable. So you need to give them incentive to come to our county. We did it at one point. We brought Blue Shield to our county. They were generating a lot of jobs, great asset to our county. We worked with them diligently. We gave them what they wanted. We gave them incentive. We did it once, and they came here. Now we have the jobs. We got to continue to do that. We got to bring our fees down. We got to bring our team fees down, permit fees, water, all of the above fees that these people pay to bring their business to our county. One example that I want to use is Startup New York. They eliminated the tax for any new business in New York, and they are seeing the results. I'm not saying that's the solution for our county, but there are models out there like that. Thank you.
Repeat that again.
Yeah. It's two-parter. What is the link between El Dorado, I guess El Dorado County's high crime rate and unemployment? What are your specific plans to entice businesses to El Dorado County?
Okay. The unemployment rate sits about anywhere from 20 to about 30% in our county. That's not including the other people of the population that's already lost their unemployment. So it's only based on the figures that are still in the system. It's really sad because when people are out of work, that creates a lot of crime, and it's wrong. So we need to put people to work in this county. I talked about a cogen plant that I would like to see built in here so we can bring a lot of the dead debris out of the forest and stuff to produce electricity in this county, to produce jobs. I talked about being on the Solid Waste Advisory Committee. I talked about a methane facility that was going to go at Union Mine. That's going to be what is going to be create jobs. That guy got kind of killed too. It's really sad. But you've got to go out and entice these people to come here. And the only way to do it is you have to lower these fees so they can be able to bring their businesses here to be able to support it. Look at what's happened in California right now. When you have a Texas governor that goes into our state and steals all of our businesses out of here and entices them to come to Texas. It's wrong. And the reason why is because we have too many regulations in this state that prevents it. The problem we have in our business parks right now, they only have an occupancy level of so many people can be there if you bring a business. Well, we need to change that so we can encourage more high-paying jobs to stay here and come to our county. Also, I talked about a hospital at our west end of our county that could be built to bring high-tech jobs here to our county. Not only that, the problem with Marshall right now is I talked to somebody that works for Blue Shield. What happens is they only give if a person goes in the hospital in their bill, they only give about a 3 to 5% reduction in that bill. They'll even work with Blue Shield to bring that bill down so people can pay the bill, because sometimes it's so high they can't afford it. If you bring another hospital in, it'll be competitive rates. The problem is, hang on just a minute, let me finish. The thing is outside other areas, it's anywhere from 15 to 30% reduction. So that's why I think we need to bring high-tech jobs. Thanks,
I promised I would take it. I'm a big sister. I know how to do this. I said I would.
Lori and the big hook. Wow. Okay, so I'm going to take this back the other way. I'm going to start with the second part of the question first. Recruiting business. You know, one of the things that's being discussed right now, and you've heard about it, is that UC Davis is looking at wants to put a campus on the east side of Sacramento someplace. So El Dorado County certainly would be part of that conversation. But so is Sacramento County, and so is Placer County. So let's use this as a model for talking about recruiting business. What are you going to give up? How are you going to sweeten the pot to ensure that business comes this way? It's going to cost money. It's going to cost infrastructure. It's not going to be for free. So the recruiting of businesses is kind of an interesting process. We have a jobless recovery at the federal level. We have a jobless recovery at the state level. We have to be smarter than get caught up in a bidding war, I think. Sure, would I love to see the campus here? No question about it. And maybe somebody will step up. But the out-and-out recruitment of business is not going to solve our employment problem. We're going to have to grow internally. We're going to need to spend our money in this county as little as $100 million off of that $800 million a year. If that's spent here, it creates 1,000 jobs the first year. The first year. And that means every adult in this county is spending $20 a week more than what they spend right now. Don't spend it in Sacramento, spend that $20 a week here. Or in other words, $1,000 a year per person. We create 1,000 jobs. The following year it creates another 1,000 jobs because the business has got their money back. This is how we beat the perception of high crime. This is how we beat the unemployment. We have to spend our money on ourselves, for ourselves. Thank you.
We got through 11 questions, which I think is really good. I want to appreciate you guys for staying on time. Not bad. And I promised everybody you get 1 minute to close. Do you really want to? Yeah. You guys want to? So if there's anything in your brain that you want to address that you didn't get to say earlier, do it. But I'm going to hold you to 2. Okay? Because we want to mingle. I love mingling with you guys. It's good. You guys ready? And
2 minutes?
Who's next? Yeah, I guess we'll do 2. Or is it 2? Who was rotation? Who just went? Were you there yet?
I think it's...
All right, go Shiva.
I'll go. Well, thank you for having us here. Pleasure to be able to share with you my point of views. It seems like we all, after a while, sound the same when we have these candidate forums. We have a very critical election in front of us. District 2 is diverse. We have suburb of Cameron Park. We also have the South County. We're going to have 3 supervisors that are going to be new by the end of this year. What the voters need to look at is background in history and track record. I am the only candidate who has served as an elected official. I know how to read the financials. I know the Brown Act. I know how to listen to the constituents, and I know how to make decisions. I am the only candidate who is endorsed by CAL FIRE and Pioneer firefighters. I am the only candidate who has, in the past, worked to make the economy better in Cameron Park, and also worked to enhance agriculture, agritourism, and tourism. You have a difficult decision in front of you. It's a special election. Not very many people are going to vote, but you need to do your due diligence. You need to do your research. I have a website, electshiva.com. You can go to my website. The issues are there. All the backup documentation are there. If you decide to support me, I have some material here, I have signs, and I am not taking a penny from the developers, and I am going to do my very best to represent the residents of this county. And thank you again for your time.
I want to thank everybody for showing up here tonight and listening to all the different candidates and stuff. You know, I have a passion for this position because I care about this county. When you have deep roots that goes back to the early 1800s, you care about it. I want to make sure that we retain our rural lifestyle, but also I want to make sure that we bring good high-tech jobs here to our county to be able to support our county for the future. I talked about a cogen plant, about opening the national forest. Being on the Solid Waste Advisory Committee that I got appointed to, we worked on a plan and we won a state award. And the reason why is because I stepped a little bit outside the box. I went to Ted Gaines and Tom McClintock and talked to them about what new ideas and technology we could bring to El Dorado County to support the future of this county. You know, I have a big passion and I care about every one of you. The thing is I feel that a lot of the people here are not heard by their current supervisors today. Well, I'm going to change that. Because my door will be always open. I will listen to your concerns because I represent you. I'm here because you're hiring me. I'm interviewing for a job. And I just care about these people, you, the people of this county. And I'm going to ask you a question, and I've always asked it. Why did you move to El Dorado County? It's because you love the rural atmosphere, just like I do. I care about you, so when you go to vote, just remember, George Turnboo. Thank you.
Okay, I'll start with the obligatory website, Facebook page out there, www.prattforsupervisor.com, and you can use that same thing. You'll find me out there on Facebook. I'm pretty active on Facebook on most days. Let me conclude by saying I've lived in El Dorado County for about 25 years. Our first home in El Dorado County was in Cameron Park. Our second home was at a little farther up the road, El Dorado Road and Highway 50. So I've lived in a commuter quarter, I've lived the commuter lifestyle. I also bought a vineyard, tricked my wife into thinking that I was something else that I wasn't, and became a farmer, okay, and started a business. And did it out in Fairplay, kind of at the end of the road, top of the hill. I'm 55 years old, I'm an empty nester. My kids live elsewhere. They really can't afford to live in El Dorado County. I hit all the demographic groups of what we're talking about, mostly the people that are in this room, and mostly they're people that are living in El Dorado County. That aging population, the kids are not here, the shrinking school pieces, it's me, it's my wife. So I think I understand what some of the problems are, and I think I understand the things that we need to do to start working together to solve the problems together. I'm a big advocate of community involvement. That's why I praise the work that you've done in this room, working on your initiative. You've met people, you know people now that you didn't know before, and you discovered that there's more to a rural lifestyle than houses. It's the community, it's the people that are there. My closing is that I have the expertise. I discussed that earlier. I'm a leader. I've been in charge of several different winery associations, grape growers associations, the Pleasant Valley Grange Fire Safe Council, and sitting on the Planning Commission. My closing is I'm ready to serve. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. When you came in, I think you all got a little